Nigeria's main opposition, the People's Democratic Party, is at a make or mar threshold, and any wrong step taken can spell doom for its survival. In its 94th meeting in Abuja, the PDP National Executive Committee, that's NEC, ratified the recommendations of Governor Ugwuanyi led zoning committee, which zoned the position of the national chairman to the north. Meanwhile, a chieftain of the party and former vice president of the country, Atiku, insists Nigeria doesn't need to zone the presidency. According to Atiku, zoning will not solve the country's problems. But let's share the PDP story by Femi Akonde with you.
A tough time for the PDP as they make tough decisions that will make or mar the political interests of the party ahead of the 2023 general election. Top shots of Nigeria's main opposition party and other members, many of whom have stayed away from party activities since the PDP lost power in 2015, were all in attendance. They have come to ratify the recommendations of Governor Ugwuanyi-led zoning committee, which suggests that the next national chairman of the party should come from the north. A decision that has caused mixed feelings among party members, but will notwithstanding be binding on all of them.
The People's Democratic Party has the right to determine its rules on how the party should be governed. The people of Nigeria also have the right to determine who governs them. Where the president comes from has never been the problem of Nigeria. And I can cite examples. Neither will it be the solution.
We must go into this national convention with the undiluted patriotism and spirit of sportsmanship. We must be ready as a true Democrat to make sacrifices and adjustments so as to elect credible leaders that will lead our party to victory come 2023.
At the end of the 94th NEC meeting of Nigeria's biggest opposition party, the apple cart was not disrupted, as the party stuck with the zoning arrangement it has practiced since the inception of democracy in 1999.
NEC approved the zoning as presented, which, as you understand, the positions that are in the south will go to the north, and the positions that are in the north will go to the south.
There are speculations about who gets what and how when the party begins the process of choosing candidates that will vie for elective positions in the country. But the National Zoning Committee insists its assignment is only to determine how national offices within the party are shared among members and not who becomes the party's flag bearers at the general election. Femi Akonde, TVC News, Abuja.
And we are looking at the zoning issue within the People's Democratic Party, and the former Vice President Atiku insists that Nigeria doesn't need to zone the presidency. According to Atiku, zoning would not solve the country's problem. Jide, do you agree with the former Vice President on this?
Nobody said zoning will solve all our problems, but it can solve some problems. Because if you are talking about inclusiveness, you want everyone to have the feeling that they belong, that Nigeria is a country for everyone. Then the majority shouldn't always have its way. The majority should sometimes be ready for power sharing. Because when you don't allow that to happen, then the minority will feel that they don't belong, and everyone that ought to jump in and help in nation building, they will not be as enthusiastic. Why Atiku is talking like this, I wish I understand. If the shoe was on the other foot, will he have spoken like this? We know that he has a perennial ambition to be president. He's a constant
if you remember
competitor.
If you remember this same Atiku when he was contesting the primaries against former President Goodluck Jonathan in PDP, they were the one that were emphasizing that, look, let's stay to the agreement of zoning. I remember in
because at that time he saw that the president then had an edge. NEC could not defeat him in primaries. You know, so the thing is, those who designed the constitution of both parties and placed the issue of zoning family in the constitution of both parties, they knew what they were doing. How did Obasanjo become president? How did Goodluck Jonathan become vice president? These decisions were taken to solve some problems at that time.
To give people some.
Look at what we have. Look at what we have in Delta State, for example. The three dominant groups, the dominant ethnic groups, they all the three zones, the three senatorial zones, they all have had their shots.
Yeah.
You know?
The last one was North and Neoma people.
Yes.
Just.
Normally, the Shekiris will never produce the governor of that state because they don't have the population. But they have that agreement that, okay, it has moved from this place, let it go to this place and that, and it's working for the state.
For them, yes.
Yes. So I wonder why an Atiku will be talking like this. No one said this problem is to solve every problem. Of course, even if you don't do zoning too, some of our problems will still remain. So
what do you make of the statement credited to the former vice president?
All I see is Atiku is thinking Atiku. Atiku is thinking about his interest. You know, ostensibly he feels that with this zoning, his chances of getting that presidential the ticket of the party as slimmer. So he's thinking Atiku. But the truth of the matter is zoning is just a recognition of our realities, of who we are. The truth of the matter is that a southwest man, a typical southwest man, thinks southwest before he thinks Nigeria. A typical southeast man thinks southeast before he thinks Nigeria.
It's a big problem.
You understand? You understand? We are in a country where we are thinking how many Christians are there, for example. Yes. How many Fulani men are there? How many Hausa?
That's the first.
How many of my brothers?
How many of my brothers? It is the way we think. It may not be the best, but that is the way we are. That's the way we are. So to foster that inclusiveness, to give that sense of belonging to people. So I support zoning. I am for zoning because it's some of the unnecessary, needless crises that we create. You know, suspicion and all of that. We take care of it through zoning.
Okay.
So
I have the former national vice chairman of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, for Southwest, Mr. Eddie Olafeso. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us, Dr. Eddie Olafeso. I'm sure we're trying to connect him. Okay, we lost connection with him. We tried to get him. And this Governor Ifeanyi Ugwuanyi's committee, during the sitting, it was so turbulent. They went through a lot of back and forth. People's interests, elders coming to present their position, and knowing the implication of zoning the national chairmanship to the north. So the implication is far-reaching. A lot of people are saying that, look, that might terminate the ambition of some people from the northern part of the country that they want to go for the presidency.
No, but they've said to everyone that
it might be free for all.
No one will stop people from contesting, people from the north from contesting, I think.
And we have the former national vice chairman of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, for Southwest, Eddie Olafeso, joins us. Thank you for joining us, Dr. Eddie Olafeso. If you can hear me, the issue of zoning is like a storm in the teacup for the People's Democratic Party. And in the last 1 month, it has been a lot of back and forth, especially after the constitution of the Dr. Ugwuanyi led zoning committee.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
I hear you now.
Oh, thank God. These are very perilous times, not for only PDP, but for our country. And a very serious opposition party must ensure that they take all factors into consideration before any decision is taken. Well, the Governor Ugwuanyi's committee already submitted his report to the to NEC, and it's been considered that there will be a swap for those party offices in the south. We go to the north, and the one in the north will come to the south in preparation for 2023. Remember my word, these are perilous times. We have to be pragmatic to capture exactly what we can do to improve this nation, that it has been a reign of pain and terror for our people in the last few years. For me, it's a guide, and the guide must be taken seriously. And how did we arrive at this junction? It is because of inequity, fear of domination, and equity that has made it a thing of consequence in the 21st century to use geography in selecting who will be our president. While I listened to one of you that spoke before now, though I did not listen to everything because of the network situation, I do believe that it is a way of capturing the realities of this moment, and that down the line, a decade, 2 decades, depending on where Nigeria is headed, I know for sure this will not be a matter of consequence in selecting who will become our president. For many of us, including those of you seated there, what is important is getting somebody who can begin to rearrange the inequity, the pain that this country is going, not necessarily where they hail from. Be it Hausa, Fulani, Yoruba, Igbo, the Ijos, all the entire citizens of this country belong to one another. But then we must be very careful as to, a situation of exclusion, which probably might not be permitted by the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. To me, having listened to the Vice President and his own position, is cautioning against that, so that all of us can begin to select our leaders with our eyes wide open and our ears clearly to the ground to know exactly how best we can develop this country that is actually in the precipice of total collapse. I don't know if you're still hearing me.
Yes, yeah. But in many countries of the world where you have diversities such as ours, power sharing is not exactly new.
It's not.
Power sharing is not exactly new. Is zoning not another name for power sharing in the real sense of the word?
Power sharing. Yes, my brother, I told you, it is power sharing. But the truth is that we must not make it the most important factor in this. Are we going to say that because something is zoned to the north, then suddenly we spring forth an incompetent president who will further divide the party, the country, and destroy everything we felt could be done better? Yes, let us be conscious that there will be power sharing. But I'm saying to me and to a lot of intellectuals watching from the side, the critical part is finding a competent person who can begin to rebuild a nation. But to tell you, you are equally aware of the fact that most nations that develop, we have a competent leader who will refocus like in the early days of the American democracy, that we commit its total all into building a nation by ensuring that everybody is protected. Are you protected because you share power to a Hausa Fulani man, or are you protected because you share power to Yoruba person, Igbo, or the South? No. Let us look at the crucibles of a possible, political advancement, not necessarily, being defined by geography. That is my own position. And yes.
I remember last convention of the elective convention of the People's Democratic Party. The sentiment out there was that for the first that the southwestern part of the country had never emerged as the chairman of the People's Democratic Party since 1999, and they've been angling for it, saying that this is the best opportunity for somebody from the southwest to emerge as the chairman of that party. And a lot of guys in the southwest, they spoke for it. They wanted to pick up the gauntlet. So what now happened?
Absolutely. What happened was not a situation of Nigerians saying that, the southwest cannot be the chairman of the party at that time. Recollect that I was the national vice chairman of the party, who is the eye of the storm in terms of selling our candidate to the rest of Nigeria. What happened was that there was proliferation of candidates, a situation of unpreparedness on our part to ensure that we pick a single best amongst us to represent us there. And the consequence was the fact that on arrival at Eagle Square, we have more people from the southwest jostling to take that position that were eventually taken away from them. So I'm cautioning, and that's my private personal issue, that competence must come first before we begin to talk about geography, and that we must align both of them in such a way that it takes into consideration the reality of the journey of the nation as we are today. There's so much pain out there. There's so much terror. They have benumbed our consciousness. The next leadership must be able to be a balm on this wound that has been inflicted on Nigeria. Well, while we welcome, like Jide said, that Nigeria is not the only place where we do power sharing or zoning. But the truth is that we must not allow it to mar the critical point of selecting a leader. It is not geography. And really, you may not wish to
Paul has a question for you.
Crucify the...
Yes. Dr. Olafesa, I want to ask this question. How would your party go about persuading people who are disgruntled by this arrangement? I ask this question because you remember that recently a lot of key figures have defected from your party, and there is no guarantee that people, there won't be certain personalities in your party who would also, there's no guarantee that they will not take the same route. So you need as many people to remain in your party. So what would you do? Are you going to make efforts to make sure that you persuade those who will be disenchanted with this particular situation?
Then, as the convention looms, what are your expectations?
First of all, let me pick on Paul first. I understand some people left, but if you ask questions and you're visceral in your probing why they left, it is personal. It is not because they care about Nigeria or the people of the Nigerian people who are equally suffering the difficulties of this moment. I do know, but by the time we go into the convention and we're able to pick the best of the candidates from the north, the best person to represent the party, the national chairman has a big role to play. His body language, his personality, his understanding and vision can turn the party around. One thing that all of us are failing to realize is that it is because of the inefficiency of party politics there that we give birth to inefficient governance, and that has actually been our lot within this last 20-something years. I do know that by the time we get to the convention, and many of us are looking out very, very seriously on those people coming. I asked the question with one of our former senators, I had a chat with one of our former senators, who is of the opinion that whoever is coming to become the national chairman of this party or presidential candidate must be put to the litmus test, must be queried questioned about their past, their present, and their future, their vision for this country. We must ask that question. It is not that, window dressing, or because you're from the north, you have to be this. So we are sure that with the coming of a new national chairman of a party, who I think will have all these factors were put in place: vision, competence, experience, history, ability to unite and unify Nigerians. We might be heading somewhere, and we can be able to placate all the other people that, no, it's not about self. If it's not about self, then we should be able to sacrifice. You see, my brothers, I sacrificed it also. I was beaten with 13 votes. I just figured it's not necessary. 8 of my votes were cancelled. I just figured I cannot take my party to court. Let it be. It's not about self, it's about all of us. And then we must recognize that in the future, Nigerians must begin to present selfless leaders who can think beyond self. And that's exactly where we are today.
Dr. Eddie Olafeso, that the former national vice chairman of the People's Democratic Party, PDP Southwest, and also one-time commissioner for information in the last Agagu administration in Ondo State. Thank you for your contribution.
That's why it speaks
so well. My regards to Jide and everybody. God bless. And have a nice Sunday. Bye, sir.
Thank you for your time, sir.
All right, thank you. So we wait till the end of this month, and the PDP, the All Progressive Congress, they are just taking their time. They've said, okay, their own state convention will now be on the 16th of October. After the state convention, they will now release the dates for their national convention. It will be more than this December, but they just want this one to play out first.
Let's see what
everybody is just like they're watching.
They've always watched one another, those two parties.
They're
like Tom and Jerry.
We are watching.